Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. It's Alice from Living Low Carb, and in today's episode we are back with another air fryer recipe. We are making my Asian pork belly with a crispy, crackling skin. This is something that I grew up eating at least once a week. My mom and I would go to the Asian butcher and we would pick up a pound of roasted pork belly. The best part was always the skin. If it wasn't crispy and crackling, then it wasn't good. This is an easy recipe that we make in the air fryer. It takes about an hour and the pork is moist and tender and the spices permeate the meat to give it that traditional roast flavor that I personally grew up eating. To get started, I have a 2-pound slab of pork belly with a nice mixture of both fat and meat. I have just washed mine and patted it dry with paper towel. I have a pot of water boiling on my stovetop. I'm just gonna take my knife and cut 2 slits down the back side of the meat. Okay. This just helps the spices permeate throughout. Make sure you don't cut all the way through the skin. Once that's done, we're gonna put our pork belly into boiling water with our spices. For our spices today, I have 1 cinnamon stick, 1.5 tablespoons of ground coriander, half a teaspoon of cloves, 3 tablespoons of star anise, and 1 tablespoon of fennel. Now these are Asian spices that you can find at your local Asian supermarket. If you do not have access to these spices, you can actually just use Chinese 5-spice powder, which you can find on Amazon, and use about 3 tablespoons and put it directly in the water. They are basically the same thing. Chinese 5-spice powder is essentially a blend of all the spices that I have here. Okay, my pot of water has come to a boil. Going to put in my pork belly with all of my spices. And to the water, I'm just going to add about a tablespoon of salt. Now we're gonna let this cook for about 30 to 40 minutes. I just took my pork belly out of the pot. You can see here that it's nice and tender, including the skin. Now I'm just going to take a fork and poke some holes in the skin. Now, as you're poking, you will see some of the fat release through, and that's a good thing. We want the fat to release from the skin because that is what makes the pork belly crispy. You do want to be pretty generous with the number of holes you poke. Try to get as much surface area as possible. You can just see that fat oozing right out. The spices have permeated the meat. I can smell them come right through. Now, as you're poking, just use a paper towel to blot out any fat that comes out. Now, we just want to take some paper towel and make sure we dry out any excess water that's in the pork. Okay, now I have a secret ingredient, which is actually white vinegar. We're going to brush maybe about a tablespoon or less of white vinegar right on top of the skin. This will help draw out some of the moisture. Now next, we're just going to coat the skin of this pork belly with about half a teaspoon of salt. You just want a light coating. Now this next step is optional, but what you can do is you can put your pork belly into the fridge to get the moisture to come out completely. You can do this for anywhere from 1 to 8 hours, depending on how much time you have and how crispy you want it. If you put this in the air fryer right away, which is what we're gonna do, it will still come out very crispy. But if you want your skin to be extra crispy, then what you can do is you can put it in the fridge uncovered on a cooling rack. The next step is to put it in your air fryer. I'm just gonna preheat mine at 400 degrees for about 5 minutes. I do find that it helps when your air fryer is preheated. My pork belly is ready to go in the air fryer. Now, while we were waiting for the air fryer to preheat, a little bit more fat actually came out of the skin. So I did take a paper towel and blot it all out. You want to make sure it's as dry as possible before going into the air fryer so that the skin becomes very crispy. Yep. Make sure you put it in skin side up, and we're gonna check on this in 40 minutes. My roast pork has been in the air fryer for 40 minutes and I've just taken it out, and look at this. No words are needed. Now we're gonna carve. At the Asian butchers, they always have a very thick cleaver and they're just chopping like this. We're gonna use a chef's knife today. I'm gonna get my husband to come in and do the carving. Okay, so we have Kevin here. The expert carver. He's just sharpening his knife. Are you excited?
Yeah, it smells so good.
This is actually Kevin's favorite food of all time, I would say. When we first started dating, we would eat this like once a week at least, but we'd always go out to buy it.
Super crispy. Oh.
Oh, yes. Yep, so. Smells like an Asian butcher in here. Smells like my childhood. The pork has come out so juicy, so tender. You can hear how crispy the skin is. It's amazing.
Do you want the first bite?
Yes. Are you gonna take one too?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mmm. Mmm.
Mmm.
That came out perfect. It's so juicy.
Our skin is so crispy.
Yeah, it became so thin. So just the top layer gets really crispy.
It's extremely moist.
So good. Did you like my chopping skills?
You did a good job. One more?
Sure. Mmm. You guys gotta hear that crunch.
Mmm. Oh, my lips are greasy. Mmm. It doesn't dry out at all.
No.
Mmm.
That took 30 minutes? 40 minutes?
Only 40 minutes in the handy dandy air fryer.
Wow.
The flavor is perfect, eh? It actually tastes exactly like...
It tastes better because it's fresh.
Yeah, it tastes better because it's fresh.
Usually when you buy them at the market, they've been sitting there for a while.
Yeah, how much do they charge? Like per pound? $15 a pound?
I think, yeah, about 15 bucks a pound. So.
This was $15 for 2 pounds.
Yeah, so
it's basically half the price to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Would you rate this recipe out of a 10?
10. 10 for sure. I could eat this every day. Easily.
Yeah. If you liked our video today, please give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment down below if there's any recipes you want to see me make in the future. Until next time.